In this video we are going to look at dividing radicals. Also keep in mind that although we are looking at dividing the radicals, but somehow along the steps we are going also to multiply radicals, because dividing and multiplying it, they work hand in hand. Let's say we have a radical like this one. We have a square root of 3 plus square root of 2, and we are dividing by square root of 2. Usually many people, what they normally think, that when you are dividing two radicals like this by the radical which is equivalent to one of the two radicals that we have at the numerator, they think that the square root of 2 and the square root of 2 should cancel. That is not right, because these two are connected by the positive, so you cannot cancel this and that. Only if there was multiplication here, then these can now cancel. So let's keep that in mind. Now what we need to know is that when we are dividing radicals like this, we have to make sure that we don't change the original question that we are given. Let me quickly rewrite this. We have square root of 3 plus square root of 2. We are dividing by square root of 2. That is the original question. So we don't change the original question. Therefore, what we are going to do, we are going to multiply this by 1. How do we do it? We look at the radical that we have in the denominator. So we are going to write square root of 2 over square root of 2. I said we are going to multiply by 1. This is equal to 1. When you divide square root of 2 by square root of 2, you get 1. If we had square root of 3 here, we were going to multiply top and bottom by square root of 3. If it was square root of 4, top and bottom by square root of 4. So that is the idea. Now here, we are now going to multiply radicals. Now how it works, the same as when we have 2x plus 3 and we are multiplying that by 2. What we normally do, we multiply first these 2 by 2x to get 4x, and we also multiply these 2 by 3 so that we can get 6. The same here. What we are going to do, we are going to multiply the square root of 2 by square root of 3. After that, we are going to multiply square root of 2 by square root of 2 again. So we can write like this. Let me put brackets here. Square root of 3 plus square root of 2, and we are multiplying that by square root of 2 over, we have square root of 2, the denominator. We are going to multiply this by square root of 2. Now from here, we are now going to use that approach where we distribute the square root of 2 to all the 2 terms inside the bracket. Now we take square root of 3, we multiply by square root of 2. I'm using this dot to represent multiplication. Square root of 3 times square root of 2 plus square root of 2 times square root of 2 over the same here, square root of 2 times square root of 2. Now from here, these two, we cannot really do anything. We cannot do anything, but what we know is, let's say we have okay, since they are all under the square root of, we have square root of 3, we are multiplying by square root of 2. What we can do, we know that 3 times 2 we get 6, but since they are all under the square root, so we can put that 6 under the square root. That is the idea. So what we are going to write here, we are going to write square root of 3 times 2, since they are all under the square root and we are multiplying, plus, now here you need to take note, when you multiply square root of 2 times square root of 2, you get 2. Square root of 2 times square root of 2, you only get 2. If it was square root of 3 times square root of 3, you will get 3. Keep that in mind. Over the same here, square root of 2 times square root of 2, we get 2. Again, do not cancel this and that 2. It is wrong. So you just work out the steps, you will see where it will lead. Now here we have 3 times 2, we get 6. Therefore we write square root of 6 plus 2 over 2. Now here we can simplify. Since all these two terms are divided by 2, we can write square root of 6 over 2 plus 2 over 2. Now here we can now write, since this we cannot simplify it any further, we write square root of 6 over 2 plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. And therefore this is the answer. Let's look at another example. Let's look at another example here. Let's say we have 2, we divide that by square root of 3 plus 1. Let's say we have that problem and we want to divide that by square root of 3 plus 1. Now this one is a little bit different from the previous example. However, what we need to know is that there's a term that they call conjugate. Conjugate. If you don't know the meaning, please try to Google it so you can find out, but I'll explain here mathematically. So we rewrite this question. What we do here is that we are going to multiply by 1 again, just like we did in the previous example. But in this case now, in the previous example, let me try to show it here. In the previous example, we multiplied by 1, which is, we take the denominator, we multiply top and bottom. So if you divide these two, you get 1. In this case now, we are still going to take the the denominator again to multiply top and bottom. But what's going to change is the sign. So we're going to multiply, we have square root of 3. Instead of plus, we put minus over square root of 3. Again, instead of plus, we put minus. Now this is the conjugate of that. Now here, what you are now going to have, we can now write 2, open bracket. We now write that fraction, square root of 3, not fraction but expression, minus 1 over these 2, open bracket, we have square root of 3 plus 1, and then square root of 3 minus 1. Now we have to distribute the 2 to all the 2 terms inside the bracket. So we're going to have 2 times square root of 3. We don't do anything. We leave it the way it is. Minus 2 times 1. We get 2. While the denominator. Now here, some people who are very, very smart, they'll say this is, they might say this is difference of 2 squares. But let's see how it works. We multiply this times that. Like I said in the previous video, if you have square root of 3, you are multiplying by square root of 3. This should give us 3. So this times that, we get 3. And then this times negative 1, we get negative square root of 3. And then positive 1 times square root of 3, we get square root of 3. And then positive 1 times negative 1, we get negative 1. Now from here, we write the numerator as it is. We have 2 square root of 3 minus 2. And then here what we can see is that this minus square root of 3 and positive square root of 3, this will give us 0. Therefore, what we only have is 3 minus 1. Then you are going to have square root of 2 square root of 3 minus 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. Again, do not cancel this 2 and that 2. It is not right. Here now we can separate. We can write 2 square root of 3 over 2. And then minus 2 over 2. Then from here, we now cancel this and that. Then we only have square root of 3 minus 2 divided by 2 is 1. And therefore, this is the final answer. Please, if you are new to this channel, do subscribe for more videos. And if you have questions, please do comment in the comment section.